Now that we have understood the calculation of net asset value, now let us move on to understand the different types of mutual funds. That is, classification of mutual funds. Mutual funds are basically classified into four categories. The first being based on ownership, the second being on the scheme of operation, the third based on portfolio, and the fourth based on location. So let us see each of these one by one. The first classification is based on ownership. Based on ownership, it is further subdivided into public sector and the private sector. Public sector mutual funds are those which are being issued by the public sector companies. So as mentioned in the earlier history, like the LIC, GIC, the public sector banks issue these mutual funds. So those are public sector mutual funds. The second, private sector mutual funds. The private sector mutual funds are those which are issued by the private sector companies like Bajaj Alliance, HDFC Standard, ICICI, and goes on. So there are more than 40 mutual fund companies in India issuing different kinds of mutual fund schemes. The next classification is based on the scheme of operation. Scheme of operation is to mean the time when I can purchase and the time when I can sell the units. So based on this, we have two, that is open-end scheme and the closed-end scheme. The open-end scheme is defined as a scheme of a mutual fund which offers units for sale without specifying any duration for redemption. So this means that an investor can invest money at any given point of time and exit at any given point of time without being limited by the time period. There is no time period fixed. A person can invest money and withdraw after a week, or withdraw after a fortnight, after a month, or a year, or whatever. So this is what is meant with open-end scheme. The entry and exit can be made without any restriction. Whereas closed-end scheme is defined as any scheme of a mutual fund in which the period of maturity of the scheme is specified. The period of the scheme is to mean generally in terms of mutual fund jargon, it is called as the lock-in period. So generally there will be a lock-in period of 3 years. So that means if I make an investment in 2020, I can only withdraw the money only in 2023. So there is a lock-in period of 3 years in which I cannot exit from the mutual fund scheme. I have to wait for the completion of the 3 years. So that is meant by closed-end scheme. The next is based on the portfolio. So when I say portfolio, it is to refer the securities or the security classes where the money collected is being invested. So there are mainly three the three subdivision: equity, debt, and the combination of both, that is hybrid. So let us see these one by one. So the first one is equity. The equity funds invest predominantly in equity shares of different companies. The primary objective is wealth creation or capital appreciation. They have the potential to generate higher return and are best for long-term investments. So based on the objective of investments, you have the further classification into growth funds, the index funds, the sector funds, and the ELSS. Growth funds, as the very term says, the objective is to have capital appreciation. It is for those people who are ready to take risks and those who are open for taking higher challenges and seek capital appreciation. The next is index funds. Index funds are the funds meant to track the index. So there are various indices in the stock market. the fund manager will specify as to which particular index the mutual fund scheme will track. So for example, let me say I, being a fund manager, specify that the fund is going to track Sensex. So when I say Sensex, there are 30 shares in the index, and whatever or whichever shares are being listed on Sensex, the mutual fund scheme also will see that the money is going only into the shares of the companies which are listed on Sensex. So whatever movement or changes happens in the shares of those companies, the similar reflection can be found in the mutual fund tracking Sensex. So this is meant as with the index funds. The next is sector funds. Sector funds are the different sectors that are prevailing in our economy. So when I say sectors, there are different businesses which are being carried on, and each business will fall under a particular sector. So for example, the real estate sector, the cement sector, the steel, the infrastructure, automobile, FMCG, the banking, the insurance. So these all form for sectors. So when I say sector, the investment will be made only in one particular sector and in the shares of all the companies falling in that particular sector. So let me take, for example, if I take private sector banks, and I will be investing all the money only in the shares of the private sector banking companies. So that is meant with sector funds. They are also known as theme funds. The next option or the variety in the equity funds is ELSS, the equity linked savings scheme. Again, mainly for the promotion of the money, the mobilization of money from the households to the various infrastructure projects, with the benefit or the added advantage of tax exemption provided under Section 80C. So thus the mutual fund is being promoted as an investment vehicle which is going to transfer the money saved by the Indian households to the Indian economy. Now let us move on to the next classification. The next classification is debt or income funds. In the income funds, the preference is given to have a regular income and to take lesser risk. So they are relatively safer investments and are suitable for income generation. And the investments will be in fixed income securities like government securities or bonds, commercial papers, debentures, certificate of deposits, money market instruments, and so on. So as mentioned and as can be seen on the slide, the investment in this goes to bond funds. So the bonds which are issued by the central and the state government constitute the class of security where the money will be invested. The next is gilt. Gilt is to refer to all the securities which are issued by the government. So government securities market is the place where the money will be flowing, collected under the debt scheme. The next is money market funds. The money market mutual funds is the place where all the money will flow into treasury bills, commercial papers, and other liquid assets. The next we have is the commercial papers and the certificate of deposits, generally issued by large companies with huge market capitalization and who are permitted to issue these instruments. So this is the other place. Generally these two instruments carry a maturity period of 1 year and hence it is being put under this classification. Then finally, the debentures which are issued by the various companies to meet their long-term capital needs is the place where the money will be flowing. So this is what will happen in case of debt, where the risk is less. Equally, the return is also less compared to the equity shares, but assuring a minimum income for the investors. The next classification is hybrid. Hybrid is, as the name says, a combination of equity and debentures. So this is mainly to maintain the balance and provide to the investors the benefits of investing in both. That is, to provide the benefit of capital appreciation and also provide the benefit of monthly income as in the case of the debt. So generally the plans under these hybrid mutual funds are monthly income plans, where generally majority of the portion of the money goes into liquid funds. Say the ratio is 60:40, 60% of the money flowing into the bonds and other securities and 40% flowing into the equity shares. Child plans, again going in the similar manner. The next is the balanced funds. Balanced funds are where the money 60% flows into the equity shares and 40% goes into the debt market. And finally, the pension plans, depending on the age factor of the investor, the proportion of equity and debt mix is being defined. So this is about the classification of mutual funds. The last one, that is based on location. Based on location, we have generally two, that is domestic and offshore funds. But domestic mutual funds are to mean where the money which is collected by the mutual funds flows within the geographical boundaries of a country. The money is invested in the various businesses that are there in the country. Whereas in case of offshore funds, the money will flow into an international level and into the international that is schemes, the mutual funds, through which the money will be directed or invested in various projects which will be held in other countries. So this is the classification of mutual funds. So this is the chart putting the different mutual funds on the risk and return trade-off scale. So the lower the risk is lower the return, and higher the risk is higher the return. When you observe the chart carefully, the debt, the liquid section comes in the lower risk, that is at the point which is closer to 0.0, and as the chart moves higher, you see there is equity and thematic funds, that is where risk is also higher and return is also higher. Depending on the appetite of the investor to take risk, similar will be the investment based on their objectives. Next, we shall move on to the investment strategies. As an investor, how do I invest money will be the most prominent question. Whether I invest a lump sum, a round figure, a huge amount, or whether I can go in a monthly basis mode like we do in the case of other investment. So all of these are available. So let me brief it to you. So the very first investment strategy you have is you can invest lump sum. Lump sum is whatever amount you have. You can invest maybe 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, or whatever is the amount of savings in your hand. The next, the most popular form of investment is systematic investment plan, or also in short called as SIP. This particular plan moves or works on the basis of average costing method. So it is based on the theory that when the money is invested every month, the cost of purchasing the units is averaged out, and thus providing higher returns to the investors as compared to that of the lump sum investment. The next is systematic withdrawal plan. Now, systematic withdrawal plan is just a variant of systematic investment plan. Here, the basic amount is being invested, and from this investment, the investor is permitted to withdraw the money from the plan. That is, as I said, it's just a variant. and it's a strategy to move out of the mutual fund. The next, again, a variant of the systematic investment plan is systematic transfer plan. Systematic transfer plan is generally used to move the funds from one particular mutual fund scheme to the other mutual fund scheme. So generally this strategy is applied where a person has invested money in the debt mutual fund and they try to move it out from the debt to the equity. So in such a case, the systematic transfer plan is applied. So these are the investment strategies when I invest a amount. Now let us see what are the advantages of investing in mutual funds. So the very first advantage I have is diversification. When the money is being invested in the securities market, the money is not going only into the shares of one company alone. It will be going into the various companies which are there based on the objective of the mutual fund scheme and based on the objective of the investor. So the risk is diversified and the risk is less. The second benefit an individual gets is professional management. Each mutual fund has a person named as fund manager. So the fund manager is a person with the credibility to manage the fund. Their track record will be maintained as to see how they have managed the mutual funds in the past and what is the return that have been generated by their expertise. So this is the second benefit which you are getting, which is not prevailing in the case of investment in the equity shares. Third is the liquidity. Liquidity, I can sell off my assets at any point. I can sell off the mutual fund at any given point of time, and there is a market where it will be, that is, paid off. It can be sold. And plus, the other thing is the flexibility. At any point of time, there is an option to enter and exit from the mutual fund scheme. The fourth benefit is of reduced risk. Because of diversification and the professional management, the risk is also reduced. Mutual fund is an indirect way of going into the equity markets. So thus, what happens is any fluctuations or any volatility in the equity stock market does not directly affect the mutual fund investors like in the case of the equity investors. In case if the money has been invested directly into the shares of the company, the volatility in the stock markets affects the investors, maybe pushing them into the loss. But in case of mutual funds, such a volatility doesn't affect hardly to the mutual fund investors. The next benefit is of tax. Generally, the mutual funds are promoted with the tax benefit, and majority of the schemes come with the benefit of tax. The tax exemption can be claimed under Section 80C of the Income Tax Act of 1961, thus making it a more popular investment vehicle among the investors. The next benefit is of low operating cost. Mutual funds do not cost much. At the maximum, there is a cost of transaction, the cost of running the mutual fund house, and that of the fund manager's expertise. So thus, the cost of operating this mutual fund is very less, and the benefit is passed on to the investors in the form of no entry load. That is, there is no charge for no commission which will be charged to the mutual fund investor. The next is transparency. Transparency is that the investor is available to have all the information about the mutual fund scheme he is investing. Further, all the documents, that is the fact sheet, is available. The investor can go into the website of the particular mutual fund house and can be able to see how the fund has been performing with all the details given, or all the facts and figures of how the mutual fund scheme has performed will be mentioned. The next benefit is choice of schemes. The investor is presented with the plethora of schemes. The choice has to be made by the investors, not only just with the above classification which we have seen, but also there are a lot of companies coming up with different mutual fund schemes, and thus the investor has a wide range of investment choice to be made. Higher returns is the plus point for mutual funds. Mutual funds are well known to give a good rate of return to the investors, thus making it popular among the people, especially the middle class people, or where even a small amount also can be invested, and thus you can achieve the stated objective. So that is the case, the plus point of mutual fund. The investor protection is also the most important advantage which an investor receives. The SEBI Mutual Fund Regulations of 1996 protects the investor rights, along with the AMFI, that is the Association of Mutual Funds of India, who govern themselves and regulate their members' activities. So these are the advantages of investing in mutual funds. Let us see the role of Association of Mutual Funds in India. All the mutual funds company in India are the members of this and have formed an association called as the Association of Mutual Funds in India. So the role of this association is to maintain high professional and ethical standards, to recommend and promote best business practice and code of conduct to be followed by members, understand nationwide investor awareness program, to disseminate information on mutual fund industry, and to undertake studies and research directly or in association with other bodies, to regulate the conduct of distributors, to protect the interest of investors or unit holders. Thus, the protection of investors' interests are taken care of by both SEBI and AMFI. Some of the important terms which are mentioned in the mutual fund and an investor has to know. The first is the offer document. That is, it is a document issued by the mutual fund house inviting the public for subscription of units for a particular scheme. The next is private placement. As we had seen in the definition, where it says issue of units to only one section of the society. So that is private placement. So it means that units of the mutual fund scheme are issued only to a selected group of persons, and the selected group of persons are called as HNI, that is high net worth individuals. So only these people are invited and asked to invest in the units of the mutual fund. The next is listing agreement. Whenever a company, mutual fund company, goes into issue of the mutual fund, they have to, that is, list their mutual fund scheme in the stock exchange, so that the NAV, the market value of their mutual fund, is displayed on the stock exchange on a daily basis. The next, gold ETF, one of the mutual fund which is getting popularized thanks to the interest of the investors in gold. The gold ETF is an exchange traded fund. More than a mutual fund, it is an exchange traded fund where it aims to track the domestic physical gold price. So here it is as good as holding gold, the physical gold. They are passive investment instruments that are based on gold prices and invest in gold bullion. The other concept is expense ratio. It is the cost of running and managing a mutual fund which is charged to the scheme at the most or the maximum per limit being 2.5% of the daily net assets. So generally the expenses which a mutual fund company will have is sales and marketing or advertising expenses, administrative expenses, transaction costs, investment management fees, registrar fees, custodian fees, audit fees, and etc. So these are about mutual funds, and these are the references from where this topic has been prepared and presented before you. I hope you have been cleared and you have a clear and a better picture of what mutual funds are, and this topic has reached to you. Thank you.